Today on Larry King Now, we welcome back Judge Judy.
I also see a lot of mediocre politicians. They get elected to high office, and then we're all surprised when everything gets screwed up. To say, well, the country has moved forward because we have a woman president, or because we have a Latina president, or because we have a black president, that's not the answer. That's not where the focus should be. The focus should be the best.
Plus, do you ever hold back?
No. What for?
That's all ahead on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. She's one of my favorite people, Judy Sheindlin. She's a permanent guest, better known as Judge Judy. Her show is now in its 18th season, the #1 program in daytime in all of syndication. Her latest book, What Would Judy Say? A grown-up guide to living together with benefits, is available exclusively through Amazon. Where else? Maybe they're going to drone it to your house soon. And you could also get a taste for her no-nonsense advice on her website, whatwouldjudysay.com. She has become an industry in and of itself. And I always ask you this, do you still pinch yourself?
Every morning.
Me too.
Well, first of all, now I pinch myself to make sure I'm still here. That's still here. And then for the wonderful adventure, what a great adventure. I remember I was so fortunate. You were so kind and generous of your time 17 and a half years ago. Early on. And I know I was in awe of the longevity of Larry King Live and the prestige of Larry King Live. There is nothing before, and certainly there won't be anything after, that gave people an opportunity like me to come on and let America know who they were.
Yeah, I didn't know who you were, but boy,
Right.
did I catch on to you. I knew that was going to work. I told you. This,
Yeah.
You couldn't miss because you had it down. Let's get into some subjects, and
Good.
I want to touch on, we'll start in a very serious vein, not that we're going to be comical, but very seriously. Frank Luntz, the political expert and guru for the Republicans, was on the other day on a politicking show we did, and he said he's never seen a time when the country is so low with distrust of everything. Politicians, corporate leaders, media people. There's no elevated person in America. What do you think of that?
What do you think of it? Sad. That's sad commentary for the greatest country in the world. Really. I think that people had some very high hopes 6 years ago when we elected our first black president. I know I certainly did. And things of late haven't been going so well. I think that there has never been, in my recent memories, the divisive nature of and the acerbic nature of the conversation.
Yeah, nobody's a friend.
Yeah, and there's no civility. And I also, and I know that I'm probably going to get lots of mail. Don't send me mail. I don't read negative mail. I also see a lot of mediocre politicians.
Boy.
Just people, that I wouldn't let do mundane things in my house.
There's no Edward Dersons, there's no Humphreys.
They get elected to high office, and then we're all surprised when everything gets screwed up. And we are enticed as a country, just seems to me, by things that we shouldn't be enticed from. I mean, how do you look? How do you dance? Can you do a split? What's your favorite charity? Who cares? What is the gravitas of who you are as a person, and what have you proven? And we elect people who are mayors and governors, senators and representatives. Larry, if everybody makes a mistake, you have a mayor who is caught smoking a crack pipe or smoking dope or doing whatever, at your favorite motel with a hooker. Well, we're not saying you shouldn't be a forgiving country, people, family, you do your penance, and but that doesn't mean you have to elect him again. Do you know, I don't get that.
It was recently the 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address, something close to my heart because it was delivered on November 19th, which is also my birthday. And the Lincoln...
At my husband's birthday.
November 19th also? Wow. And that's the day of the Gettysburg Address. And the Lincoln Presidential Library Foundation, you wrote an essay in spirit of that address. I
am certainly not a poet, but I figured I could put together 272 words, the exact number of words in the Gettysburg Address. And when I sat down to write it, I think you're going to ask me a couple of questions about it. I thought about the direction of our country, which is where we started this conversation. And I don't see the trajectory moving forward.
What do you think Lincoln would think?
About today?
Today.
I think he would look around and say, this is not what I envisioned for the greatness of America. I think that we revere mediocrity.
But he would also see a black president. He would see black athletes at the University of Alabama.
Well, the question about, that's wonderful. And a black president is wonderful. The question is, was it the right black president? It's the same thing about a woman. I think that, would it be great to have a woman as president of the United States? Absolutely. Only if it was the right woman. So I think that to say, well, the country has moved forward because we have a woman president, or because we have a Latina president, or because we have a black president, that's not the answer. That's not where the focus should be. The focus should be the best. When you had your heart attacks, did you say, I want you to bring me to the best minority heart surgeon you can find? No. You said, bring me to the best heart surgeon in the world. That's what I want for myself. That's what this country should want for themselves. Not the best of something, but the best, period. And I think we have gotten shortchanged.
Some of the advances tell you that some of those surgeons are black.
Wonderful. But notice, you didn't say you wanted a minority president. You said a minority heart surgeon. You said, I want the best.
Coming up, a recent trend is popping up across the country, and it has our favorite judge outraged. We'll talk about that next, right after the break. Our guest is the fabulous Judge Judy, who keeps on keeping on. I'm so proud of all you've attained. This past week, the media has been up in arms about so-called, now you've got to help me out with this, what are knockout games?
Knockout games are vicious young people who, for sport, will walk in a group and target somebody, young, old, older, men, women, and for no other reason other than their viciousness and sport, hit them, hurt them, try to humiliate them, whether by a punch or a slap or a kick, whatever. That's the game. And then they walk away.
And they tape this?
Sometimes they do. I mean, we have seen, I know in Florida, we had 2 instances within the last couple of weeks. One elderly gentleman was tending to his garden and was bent over in his garden, and a group of young women from, I believe, his local basketball team were clowning around, and because they probably heard about this, one of them walked up to him and with full force kicked him in the behind, causing him to fall on his face for no reason. They're not committing criminal acts because they need food or they...
Was it sport?
It's sport.
Okay. New York Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly said we're still trying to determine whether it's a real phenomenon. Are these kids from all classes?
I have no idea. I don't care.
We don't know who the kids are?
Well, we know some of them.
They come from?
You don't know. I don't care where they come from. I don't care where they come from. A broken home where there's one parent or a half a parent or a quarter of a parent. It is unimportant to the 75-year-old man who was tending his garden, who was injured when kicked in the behind for no reason, or the man who was punched in the face and had a jaw broken. It's irrelevant
So
to
how
me.
do you explain it?
You know, I think we've spent too much time trying to. I've been in the justice system now for 40 years. And Larry, I know you and I disagree about this one area of the law. I think we've spent too much time navel-gazing about the whys. How do you explain it? Where do you look? Where do you look for the cause? How do you find the cause? Let's develop a commission. They'll ask the kids why they did it.
You don't want to know why.
It has not. No. They've tried to find out why. We've spent billions of dollars trying to find out why and trying to find a way. Well, everybody gets a computer and everybody gets a phone, and so you don't have to steal a phone, so we're going to give you a phone, and we're going to give you money for sneakers, and we're going to take away all the incentive for bad behavior. And you still have bad behavior. We're going to give you more. You're the squeaky wheel, so we're going to continue to give you.
But your answer is to give up and just punish him? What
No,
is
not give up. No, not give up. My answer is to try punishment. Pure retribution by society.
Revenge.
Not revenge, retribution. This is what you did. And this is the consequence of what you did. And we're sorry that you maybe didn't have the advantages. Maybe you did. Maybe you had all the advantages, but they gave you the medal even when you came in 6th in the race, and maybe you got a skewed view of life. I don't care. We don't care about that. We care about your conduct. This is black. This is white. This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. This is a green light. This is a red light. You have to know your parameters. And I'm going to tell you something else. You know, this is my hot topic, my hot button topic. There were people when I started my program 18 years ago that could not stand this message, because it's a message that I preached in the family court. They hated the message and they tried to kill the messenger. All of the reviews of Judge Judy, she's brash, she's outspoken, she's unsympathetic, she's da-da-da-da-da-da. It's 18 years later, and more people watch Judge Judy, and this isn't a badge for me, but more people watch Judge Judy, as my grandson says, than watch Monday Night Football, because that's what the numbers show. There has to be a reason for that. The vast majority of people in this country are fed up with the navel-gazing and the abuse excuse. I'm depraved on a kind of I'm deprived may have worked at West Side Story, but it doesn't work anymore.
Coming up, does Judge Judy impart tough love on her own children and grandchildren? Does she use it at home? Go away. We're back with Judge Judy. We're both in the internet world. It's the world. We have to accept it. We can't fight it, so I joined it. We all have to join it. Does it have a negative impact?
Sure, people are putting too much information about themselves out there, and your privacy is lost.
How about cyberbullying?
Oh, well, that's nasty. That's nasty. You know, bullying used to stop at the corner of the school, you know. You used to finally get home and you were in a safe haven where your family took care of you, but that's not true anymore because everybody's on the internet. So,
what would you do if you had a grandchild who broke that kid's jaw?
Oh, because we were talking about during the break about what would happen if someone broke your child's jaw.
Right.
For no reason other than the fact that they resented.
I forgot we're in the break. I'm
we were in a break.
Into you, Judy. I forgot.
We were in a break, so I'll fill it. We were in a break, and I said, Larry, you and I disagree about certain things in the justice system. So I'm going to ask you, if one of your children was assaulted, had their jaw broken, wired shut, because this punk resented the fact that your son had a nice jacket and an iPhone 5S or 4S or whatever S number we're on now. And you were told, you know, they didn't come from as established a home as yours. They didn't have the advantages of yours that your son has. He was jealous. Would you still want him prosecuted? And your answer was?
Yes,
Yes,
but I still feel bad
badly.
for him.
And I said, I'd want him prosecuted. And I don't feel badly for him because that's not a natural
Now,
reaction.
picking up from that, your grandson is not poor and doesn't. But supposing he has a tendency and he bullies someone, but for sport, he broke a kid's jaw.
I would say to him, you're on your own. Let me tell you what I used to say to my grandchildren and my children. Because when my children were growing up, I was on the bench. And they would drive at night, and I knew that they were doing things when they were out at night. You know, teenagers, they're 17, they're 18 years old, they're 19 years old, and I knew that I wasn't hearing the full emis of what was going on when they were out cavorting around. And I used to say to them, if you get pulled over, forget my name. Forget my name. Call another relative, call a friend, but don't use my name to get yourself out of a problem.
How do you? I have a tough time being. Help me, because you can help me. I have a tough time being strict. Now I was raised without a father. I'm giving you my excuses now. My mother babied me, and she did. She labeled it could do no wrong. But I have a tough time. Now I'll critical of them. I'll yell at them, but I'm not tough.
You're not tough. Well, first of all, you know, you're not a father who's 25 years old.
Correct.
Think that's different. My kids, who are in their 40s and have children, you know, most of them have had children when they were in their late 20s, early 30s. They're still strong enough to grab their kid and say, we're not going to say that again to your mother. Even though the kids are sometimes towering over them. But I have one child, Gregory Sheindlin, who has married when he was 49 years old, and he has a year-old baby. And I have a feeling that grabbing or pulling or giving a pat on the behind is never going to happen with Gregory Sheindlin because he's an older dad. By the time that child is 10, he's going to be 60. And by the time that child is 20, he's going to be 70. It's a whole different mindset, I think, as we get older. Certainly, I'm a much softer grandparent. Not a pushover, but much softer than I was as a parent.
It's hard. That's one of the difficult things, being 80 and having a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old.
You're absolutely correct. First of all, you don't want your heart to act up. You know that you got to keep your blood pressure down.
Right.
Right? So you keep it down. You say, listen,
you try.
I'm annoyed. If I get really annoyed, my heart's going to go like this, and that's not going to be good for anybody.
What about bullying in general? That's a big problem in America. And it covers all the socioeconomic.
It's true. And you know, we're even bullied as adults. I mean, if you have a position, take children. We all know that that's a terrible thing. And people have talked about that. The talking heads have been on bullying for a very, very long time. But we, as adults, I feel bullied. I know people who feel bullied. I get letters, thousands a year, from people who say, you know, you say things that we think, and that's why we watch you, because we can't say it at work, because may not be politically correct. We can't say what you're saying to someone because we have a fear that we may lose our job or offend somebody. We will be called into human resources because you said something wrong to somebody. All of a sudden, the entire monolith of business is down on you because you moved somebody's chair from the right side to the left side, you know, and they're no longer near a window. So we've created an atmosphere where even adults, as adults, we're bullied and accept it and keep quiet in order to be accepted. People do that here in Hollywood. You know, they may have opinions that are inconsistent with that of the general Hollywood flow, and they know that if they discuss their political views or social views, they won't work.
Do you ever hold back?
No. What for? What for? It's served me well. I think that if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. You can ask me the same question that you asked me 15 years ago. I'll give you the same answer today.
You ever regret any decisions you've made in court?
No.
No?
No. I'm not talking about the ones that I've done on the television court. They really don't impact the lives of people as the ones in family court did. And the ones that I did in family court that were really meaningful, I gave it my best shot.
Child custody, too?
Child custody, abuse, neglect, termination of parental rights, whatever it was that were really alter people's lives forever. I wasn't motivated by anything political or my own life.
You gave it your best.
I gave it my best shot.
Coming up, your chance to have your questions answered by Judge Judy right after this. We're back with the fantastic Judge Judy. I love her. We're pouring in social media questions. Okay, here we go. Cabbage Savvy, I love these names, on Instagram. Is this what you wanted to be even as a small girl?
Yes.
Wow. To B. Wilson 86 on Twitter, have you ever gotten a case you just couldn't be a part of for one reason or another? Excuse yourself.
No. No. There have been cases that I've rejected for television because I felt as if it was not fair to put them on television for whatever reason. But other cases that I was handed when I was in family court, no, I never did.
Evan White on Twitter wants to know, is there such a thing as a pointless case that you've judged?
Oh, yes. I think when people substitute sorrow, for instance, and substitute anger for sorrow, you know, very often we do this, sadly, frequently, if someone dies in our family, instead of spending that time mourning, we find that we're angry at a brother or a sister or an aunt or an uncle, and somebody slighted you by not showing up, or somebody took something that didn't belong to you, and you will spend the next 3 years litigating over a teacup, rather than spending 6 months grieving and then moving on.
Bill Black on Facebook, did you have any idea when you started your show that it would be so successful?
No. Hoping to last 6 months.
Kenny Washington on Facebook wants to know, did you ever watch other courtroom shows? And if so, who's your favorite TV judge? Did you like Wapner?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Who did you like? Or didn't you like anyone?
There was one, I liked Mills Lane.
I remember Mills Lane.
Do you remember Mills Lane? I thought he was charismatic kind of guy.
I liked him.
And I thought he had common sense. He didn't last long, which I thought was a shame. And then he got sick.
Mark Webster on Facebook wants to know, what advice do you have for a first-time judge?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. If I had to look back on my years, I would say what we said a moment ago. Give every case you have your best effort. Try to get the best possible information and make every judgment that you make based on nothing but the facts that you have garnered. And if you do that, you will never regret a decision.
Charlotte Sue on Facebook, do you think Edward Snowden should go to prison? Or, as many think, he's an American hero?
Oh, that's a mixed bag. I think that history will judge him, actually. I think that the information is probably information that everybody wanted, some of it. I think he was probably young to have made the decision. He was young to have made the decision as to what to disseminate and what not to disseminate. The fact that there were things going on that Americans didn't know about, I actually find reprehensible. And I think that people should know that their private lives aren't private and what's going on. But I think that when national security becomes an issue, you have to be somewhat out of your 20s before you can make a judgment.
It's a delicate balance, though.
Sure is.
Jenny Coreni on Twitter, would you support Hillary in a presidential run in 2016?
I think she's a fabulous gal.
I do, too. She's good.
It depends upon who is running against her, but I think Hillary is a fabulous gal and qualified to be president. She has the gravitas.
She has a pretty good background.
She has the gravitas to be president. She paid her dues.
Okay, these are now we call If You Only Knew. Just quick question. Characteristic you value most in other people?
Honesty.
Characteristic you value most in yourself?
Tenacity.
Guilty pleasure. It's been reported that you have an affinity for McDonald's Egg McMuffins.
I used to. That was my guilty pleasure of mine every morning, driving through the drive-thru and picking up an Egg McMuffin and holding the fries.
At the corner of Sunset and Cahuenga in Los Angeles, it's Larry King Square. What would you like named after you? I got to throw it in a little ego trip there.
What would I like named after me? You know,
Would you like a street?
I don't know what I would like after me. I wouldn't like anything. But what was Woody Allen's line?
Woody said he's not afraid of death. He just doesn't want to be there when it happens.
Right.
Do you have a role model?
No, not at one person.
Proudest moment?
Oh, that was interesting. I think the proudest moment for me was when I was sworn in as a family court judge.
Ed Koch. Did he appoint you?
Yes.
What
do I think? What do I think of him? Was Ed Koch? Was there a question mark after Ed Koch?
I think I threw that out because I remember he appointed you.
He appointed me, and he was a super guy, and he loved New York City, and he knew how to govern it, and I think Mike Bloomberg has been a terrific mayor, and now I'm glad I live in Florida.
You don't live there. That's right.
Now I'm glad I live in Florida.
You don't have hopes for de Blasio?
I'm glad I live in Florida.
And on that note, we thank my guest, the Honorable Judge Judy Sheindlin, as we know her, Judge Judy, currently in syndication forever. Her book, What Would Judy Say, is available exclusively through Amazon, and you can visit her website of the same name for her sound advice. And you can find me on Twitter at King's Things and Judge Judy at Judge Judy. And I'll see you next time.